Welcome to Spirit of DiTlou, Africa's Majesty. We're going to take you on a journey to a real safari. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of DiTlou, Africa's Majesty. In the last 3 episodes, we ran through a cycle of management of national parks. We went into buffaloes, we went into hunting and how to deal with all these animals. And yeah, today we will conclude this cycle with going a bit into a difficult topic. That's the trophy hunting. So yeah, Arthur will start off with explaining to us the financial value, and then we will go into the good, the bad, and the evil. Let us know what you think about it and how you like it, and will be interesting to see your comments on this.
Well, so a statistic that I read once, that was released by some conservation organization. I'm not putting my head on a block about its accuracy, but they say on average, the average tourist contributes about $200 a day to the South African economy, where the average hunter contributes about $3,000 to $4,000 a day. The thing is, the biggest thing, if I can answer it to you this way, the thing that frustrates me the most, because like I say, I don't always see the need for a trophy hunting industry. I don't support it, but I understand the value of it in the sense that when you come on safari and we go to the Kruger National Park or to any game reserve for that matter, of all the money that you contribute, okay, we need to pay for the staff at the lodge. Your guides needs to get at least some form of salary. You need roads to drive on. We need to maintain fences. We need to pay for anti-poaching. We need to pay for all of these things. Okay, so at the end of the day, once we've paid for all of that things, there's very, very little that goes back into conservation.
Yep.
Most of the money that tourism contributes goes to uphold the infrastructure that the tourist needs to enjoy the destination. Whereas with hunting, a person comes, pays for a trophy, most of that money gets pushed right back into breeding more animals of the same species, which ensures the species survival. So at the end of the day, they contribute much more to conservation than tourism does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just unfortunately how the cookie crumble, because you see, most trophy hunters that come to Africa doesn't want to live in a 5-star lodge with waiters and barmen and whatnot. He's quite happy sleeping in a tent and taking his beer out of a cooler box.
Yeah, that's the average hunter.
The average hunter, and you don't have to go and put up a special menu, because without being funny, he probably wants a steak from the zebra that he shot today.
That makes sense. Huh?
So in the long run, yes, like I say, once again, I do not support trophy hunting. I don't like trophy hunting, but I see the value of it. And because of the value that I see that comes for it, and the conservation value, I cannot go against it.
No, that's true. Yeah.
You know, there's always this thing about thinking with your head and thinking with your heart. And my heart says it's wrong, but my head says do the math. It actually works.
And this again, I mean, if you think it through logically, well, as much as it would work, it makes sense if it's done properly, if it's regulated properly. Yeah. I mean, there's the problem I think that we also have is these how to say, these black sheep, if you will, these kind of guys that do it.
Exactly my point. Let me be honest with you and tell you, the guy that comes and does an ethical hunt and takes a trophy is not the guy you see on social media.
No, exactly. Yeah. He just
Because
won't do it. Yeah.
yeah, the guy that's on social media is normally a guy that does something stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the most ridiculous concept in the world is canned lion hunting.
That is so stupid. Yeah.
And it's normally the guy that shoots a canned lion that wants to put it on the, because he's got little man syndrome. So now he wants to brag to the whole world that he pulled the trigger and killed the lion. But actually, he didn't do that.
Yeah.
He just drove up to some drug
Mhm.
lion in a cage and pulled the trigger. He's got nothing to brag about whatsoever. Where the guy that will go out there and spend 5 days tracking a lion and then taking the shot, he doesn't go and post on social media and look what I've done and
No.
whatnot. Because if you go ask a lot of hunters, they'll tell you it's a deeply personal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult subject. All I can say is we need to think very carefully before we start banning things and changing things, because we might end up doing more damage than we actually end up doing good.
And then again, I'm just coming also back from that European perspective, if I may. I mean, yes, we basically messed up our wildlife, so we haven't done a very good job in keeping it up. So now we are telling you how to do it the same way. I'm struggling with that concept. Yeah? So I guess you guys, as
I
you
mean,
said before, you managed to keep your wildlife actually alive and wild.
I've said that to you before. I mean, I don't know why people are giving us grief, because our wildlife are still here and people are still coming on safari to see them.
Yes,
Whereas there are a myriad of deer species and whatnot that used to be in Europe that's no longer there.
exactly.
But I think it comes back to what I said at the beginning, where everybody feels a connection to the African continent.
Mhm.
The reason why I don't get worked up and I don't get into arguments about this is
Mhm.
I also understand that most people who actually go out there and publicly speak out against trophy hunting or against hunting or against a lot of things, they're actually doing it with the best intentions in the world.
Yeah. No, I don't
Um,
doubt that usually. Yeah.
yeah, the fact is it's it's a lack of education.
Hmm.
It's people putting out an opinion before they understand the situation.
You know that saying. That's a lot of opinion for this lack of knowledge. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, one of the things that came out of the documentary that I told you about is the people that were talking out, that were interviewed, that was against hunting. When they asked them, so what do you think we should do about the elephant population? The only answer the lady could give was contraceptives, because that's non-invasive.
Right?
Okay, fantastic. But how are we going to implement it? On a smaller reserve, it's not a problem. We are doing
Mhm.
that. But in a big situation like the Kruger, it's not going to work. It's
I think
not
we
realistically
established that.
possible.
Yeah.
So,
And
um,
the fact that it is not invasive, I also would question that.
well, the thing is, it's not lethal.
Yeah,
Okay, anything we do to control the population is going to be invasive.
exactly. Yeah.
There's no way to get around that. But on the other hand, to just leave the population to grow, that's also a bit short-sighted, because now people say, but look at look at the elephants. They're fat and happy. Yes, they are, but my rhinos are starving.
Hmm.
Because once I don't think people have has ever seen what it looks like when there's a drought and elephants take up station at a watering hole and they prevent other animals from drinking,
Mm.
because they do that.
Yeah.
So now I've got other animals dying of thirst because I've got too many elephants. You know, a good explanation I heard the other day. I don't know if you know a gentleman by the name of Forrest Gallant.
No, no, I don't.
So Forrest Gallant is he's a biologist, and his big thing is he likes to look for extinct species and try and rediscover extinct species.
Okay.
But in one of his interviews, he made a good comparison, and he said an ecosystem is like a game of Jenga.
Ah,
Jenga with
okay,
a
like this
blocks.
tower. Yeah, yeah, got it.
Yes. So on the one hand, you take out a block here and everything is still fine. And then you take out a block there and everything is still fine. But it's just that one block that you remove and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
Okay. But now on the same side, if you take that tower, you can only build it that high before it becomes unstable and it falls over.
Yes.
So if you keep on adding things into an ecosystem, that's just as bad as keep on taking things out of an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
It's both going to lead the same way, complete collapse of the ecosystem.
That's probably a real good example. You know?
Yeah, that's a very good way of explaining it. You can only carry so much before things go south. So
Wow.
yeah, I know that sometimes I sound like a massive advocate for trophy hunting, but actually I'm not. My only thing is, guys, conservation in Southern Africa is working. Why mess with it?
And I mean, I have to confirm that. I mean, I've seen this. Yeah, it's amazing how this work is done. And I mean, it's working in South Africa, it's working in Botswana, it's working in Namibia.
But now you go to countries that don't have
Mm-hmm.
that investment from the private sector into a hunting industry,
Yeah,
and those are the countries that are crying out our animals are disappearing.
yeah.
It's a bit of a problem. You know, it should give people the idea that, you know, I mean, if you look at I'm just going to throw it out there. Look at Kenya, for example.
Yeah.
Nobody is interested in investing in conservation in Kenya because at the end of the day, there's no bread and butter for them in.
Mm.
Okay, whereas on the other hand, in places like Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, farmers are actually coming in saying, you know what, I'll take a piece of land and protect the animals that are there because I can make a living from this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
There's an
this is what it
incentive
is. Yeah?
for me to look after these animals.
It's the only way you can conserve animals in the long run is, as you said before, you have to be able to make some kind of living out of this. Yeah? People have to
Exactly.
understand that they can actually eat because these animals are there. Yeah?
Yeah,
If
exactly. And that's the thing, you know, in Southern Africa, that model is work. And you know, I only found out the other day that that model has actually got a name given to it by the conservation organizations, and it's called the "if it pays, it stays" model.
yeah,
And it makes sense. I mean,
totally. Yeah.
if you think about it, look at just off the top. Look at sharks, for example.
Hmm.
Our shark populations are still taking a dive, a hell of a dive,
Yeah.
because of the whole shark fin soup thing.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. If somebody could figure, but why is nobody investing money into saving sharks? Because the only guy making money out of sharks is the guy making the shark fin soup.
Hmm.
There is no way that people have figured out to make money from keeping sharks alive.
Yeah.
So therefore, the investment into shark conservation is a drop in the bucket of what it should be.
Yeah.
You know, same with whales.
Hmm.
It's sad, but it's true.
It is, unfortunately. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a if you go look at, for example, polar bears.
Hmm.
Okay, polar bears was really on the brink of extinction. and they're starting to do a bit better now. Why? Because a place like Spitsbergen, where the polar bears come and raid the town,
Yeah.
now that people are flocking there from all over the world to see the polar bears, the people in the area are actually saying, well, maybe we should keep these bears around instead of shooting everything that comes into town.
Yeah.
Because now we've got millions coming in because people are coming to see the bears.
Yeah. And that's it. Huh?
I mean, Yellowstone, another example.
Mm-hmm.
Yellowstone had no wolves for how many years?
That story, yeah, that was amazing. Huh?
Okay. And the wolves were brought back. Why? Because the people paying to come to the park wanted to see wolves.
Mm-hmm.
The wolves in Montana were saved because somebody was willing to pay to see them.
Yeah. And I think that had another side effect, no? That basically kind of reshaped the whole park, no? Wasn't it that
Exactly.
story?
It had a massive effect because all of a sudden it turns out now the bear is not the apex predator anymore.
Yeah.
The bears have become the scavengers that they're supposed to be. In the absence of the wolf, it changed the whole ecosystem because something had to step up and take the role of apex predator.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when the wolves came in, it just changed the whole ecosystem. And the park is actually doing, in fact, the caribou and or their deer numbers actually went up after they brought in the wolves because
Kind of
all of a sudden,
counterintuitive,
all,
yeah.
all of a sudden, the weak ones didn't make it.
Yeah.
So it was the strongest that survived. So when only the strongest are breeding, they're having stronger babies, which means there's more babies that survive.
Yeah.
It's completely counterintuitive, but it works. And that's where and that's why I say, I know I sound like a broken record, but at the end of the day, guys, we've got the amount of wildlife in Southern Africa we do because we have a hunting industry.
Yeah.
And something else that came up. Are you part of the Kruger sightings group on Facebook?
I have, I think I am. No,
Okay,
no,
so
not
did
Kruger
you see
sightings.
the photos in the last week or two with the old male lions?
There's that were starving.
Yeah, so there's this
Yeah.
massive outcry from the
Mm-hmm.
public that they don't want to see this. It's not nice to see these lions are starving. Somebody please go in and give them veterinary care and this and that and this and that and all other complaints.
Mm-hmm.
Or, but now, here's my thing: is that's how nature works. That's how male lions die.
Yes.
They get kicked out of they get kicked out of their pride. Their spot gets taken by other males. They become nomadic again. They've got that big mane. They can't hunt like they used to. They end up starving to death.
Mm-hmm.
That's the normal cycle of things. But now, what boggles my mind is when that actually happens, then people say, oh, that's not nice. We don't want to see it. On the other hand, if we say, okay, right, that lion has now been kicked out of his pride, he's still in fantastic condition, but before he starts suffering, let's go and shoot him
Mm-hmm.
and prevent him from going through that suffering.
That's
Then
also not good.
people also make a big thing about it because how can you shoot a lion?
I mean, it's again like we said in the beginning. It's also
It's a
like
lack of
that
education.
story. Do you know that story with the donkey, the man and his wife?
Yeah, no matter what you do,
It's always
um,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah,
In the end, you
where
end up carrying that donkey, yeah, and you're still stupid.
yeah, exactly. So if you ride the donkey, then it's the poor animal. If the wife rides the donkey and you walk, then it's a problem. If
If you're right and
that's
the wife
exactly
walks
the
in.
thing. That's exactly the thing. No matter what you do, the problem is these days is you know I always say to people the the thing that I miss the most in the world is you are 100% entitled to your opinion and the way you see things. The problem is you are not entitled to force what you believe onto someone else.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like I said, back in the day, the world was just a simpler place. I mean, I think I've said this to you before.
Mm-hmm.
Is I don't understand how it works that, you know, when I was a kid, if you switched on the television, keep in mind there was only 4 channels.
Yeah,
Okay?
I remember that.
But if you switch on the television and there's something that you can't see that you don't like, all you did was change the channel.
Yeah.
Today, the mentality seems to be that I'm going to watch this thing that I don't like, and then I'm going to go to social media and write a 3-page essay about why I didn't like
I mean,
it.
again,
And the thing that boggles me is today we've got 124 channels. So I'm sure you can find something to watch that you actually like somewhere.
yeah. Why watch
And and,
something you don't like? It's something I
and
don't
that's the
understand
thing.
either.
That's what makes this conservation thing so difficult, is because I really talking to people who actually have done their research and who come and say, but hang on, guys, what if we did this instead of that? That's a constructive conversation.
Mm.
But in most cases, people are just, okay, we want to ban trophy hunting. And then you say to them, why? And they're like, because we don't like it.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, so, you know, you remember me saying this, but I have to put it in there. I always say to people, if I become president of the country, I'm going to make eating vegetables illegal
Yeah, because you don't like it.
because I don't like it. So because I don't like it, you're not allowed to eat vegetables. And then people say to me, but you're nuts. It doesn't work like that. And I say, exactly. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean you can force somebody else.
No.
Not like, and that's the biggest problem we've got with conservation. We've got guys who are on the ground who's looking at this from all angles and are saying, this is what we're going to do to solve the problem. And then you've got somebody halfway around the world that the only thing they know about it is what these guys are about to do. And because they don't like it, they never stop to ask why.
Mm.
They just go on a crusade. But at the end of the day, to get back to where all of this started, buffaloes in South Africa, in the Kruger National Park, the only option is culling because
Yes.
of the diseases that they
Disease.
carry. In other reserves, generally buffalo, when there's too many buffaloes, because they are valuable commodity, they will be sold at auction.
And then put into these farms, yeah?
Well, it depends. Because you know that some national parks also invest, and some
Ah,
private
okay.
game reserves where there's no hunting also invest money. So, you might have a problem in, let's say, as a simple example, let's say Madikwe's got a problem. They don't have very nice buffalo sightings,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't do the math, and they realize that they have got they have got space for another 200 buffaloes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then they will go and buy 200 buffalo. And at the same time, you might have Karongwe that's got too many buffaloes and they decide to sell 200 buffaloes.
Okay.
So it's not always that it goes into the hunting industry.
Okay.
You know, before it goes into the hunting industry with buffaloes, you first have to ask the questions: are they disease free?
Yes.
So generally the buffaloes on hunting reserves are the disease free buffaloes,
Mm-hmm.
and they are generally swapped and traded within that industry.
Industry. Okay.
Because most of the parks, unfortunately, in the past have received buffaloes from places like Kruger or wherever, and
Okay.
which
So
means
they have this. Mm.
just spread. For a long time, we had no disease-free buffalo in South Africa.
Wow.
Uh, And you've been to Botswana.
Mm-hmm.
You can see how serious Botswana takes that problem when you get to your checkpoints,
That's wow. Yeah.
and you literally have to sterilize your shoes and sterilize your
You drive through this path with the car and everything. Yeah.
exactly to make sure that you don't move. And it's generally when you come from South Africa,
Mm.
then you have to go through that whole rigmarole because they know that people that come into their game reserves have been in game reserves in South Africa and they've probably been in contact with diseased buffalo.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes they're a bit over the top, but it shows you how much effort they put
Yeah.
into conservation.
It's
Um,
just all a piece of the whole puzzle. I mean,
exactly.
I don't mind. It's not really making any too much of an effort, so why? I
Yeah,
don't
and,
care.
and that's why I say, like you said in the beginning, I really like to have these conversations with my guests because at the end of the day, my job as a guide is conservation through education.
Yep.
And it's to avoid the tough topics. You're not helping anybody.
I
Um,
think the thing is, it's you over romanticize. Sometimes you just over romanticize Africa. Yeah. Um,
exactly.
but still, sitting on a campfire in the evening, talking about those things, going through all the memories that you did during the day, sitting in front of the animals, watching them, enjoying them, having their life. It doesn't take anything away from it. I honestly, the way that I see it, it just really adds to the experience. It really gives you much more background information that you can actually appreciate it even much more.
Yeah,
Because
when you go
okay,
home,
there's
you need to
really effort in
understand
there. Yeah.
that's the thing. You know, it's no point you come to Africa, you see an elephant, but you don't understand what's going on with elephants in South Africa.
Mm.
And that's very important. And that's why when you've been on safari with me, I like to take you to places to say that now you see this area here is fenced off for this reason and bring conservation into the
Mm.
so that you can see what we are doing to look after those animals and how everything fits together.
It's impressive. It really is.
So yeah, I hope Sally doesn't get too upset with me for bringing the whole hunting thing. But the question that she asked, there was no way to avoid it.
Well, to be honest,
Because I'm
Arthur,
also
I
not
think
going to
we are going to
sugarcoat.
make like three episodes out of this, or at least three parts of this episode,
Very
because
easy.
this
Um,
is, yeah,
but like I say, I don't want to sugarcoat things. So if people ask us a question, I'm going to tell them the truth.
yeah. There's no meaning in doing anything else, because I mean, people would figure it out anyway. So, and
Exactly.
then we would be very stupid.
Exactly. I mean, it's, like I said, if we don't discuss the issues, we won't find solutions to the issues.
No, exactly.
Alrighty. So I think that's me
Yeah,
for the.
that's it. So, guys, you see what happens if you ask
Kind
those questions.
of
No,
and we
just
end
go
up going
ahead.
down the
It's
rabbit
really
hole.
great. I think it was actually very enjoyable to have this more casual discussion.
It's always difficult to pick a subject to talk to people about,
Mhm.
but it's much easier when people give us an indication of what they're interested in and they ask questions. Because, like I say, conservation through education. And the only way you educate people is when they start asking questions so that you know what they don't know.
Exactly. All right. So
So,
keep asking us questions in the comments. Let us know what you think about the topic that we discussed. I mean, we know it's a bit controversial, and there's a lot of opinion, and sometimes a big lack of knowledge for a lot of opinion. So let us just know. And if you want to know more, obviously we will make another episode. We'll try to keep it a bit shorter, maybe that time, but even that we can split. And Yeah. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, we
And
just
Arthur,
went into the
again,
rabbit hole big time now.
thank you so much for sharing all this insights with us. Yeah, have a great day and talk to you
Not a
again next
problem.
time.
I don't mind doing the research, so you don't have to.
No, that's absolutely great, Arthur. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Have a good evening, everybody.